All right, here we are, everybody. Today is Thursday. It is super loud in the Citrus Club. Thursday, October 12th. It's the TED Show, episode 42. I know, I can't believe it. I'm with my guest, my friend, Jerry McDaniel. Totally unique. Never had a guest like this on the show before, which is what makes it exciting. Let us know if you can hear us. Go ahead and speak. Jerry, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing out there?
And it's just crazy loud, so we will talk louder if we need to. Thanks to Virginia and Yvonne behind me who helped set up, and Stephen. So let us know, and we can always adjust. And Althea got on right away. So.
Oh, Althea.
Hey, Althea.
Hello, Althea.
Thanks for the introduction. Oh, thanks, John. Okay, he says we sound good.
Okay, great. Fantastic.
All right, so this was actually our first meeting. You came early.
Yes.
Jerry is a clairvoyant medium.
Correct.
Okay, and I think you put psychic in there somewhere, but that's just probably easier for people to understand what that means.
It is.
And when Althea Garner, I can hear you, but you're breaking up. Yeah, I know. It's the way things are. It's very loud here today. Thanks, Althea, again, for the introduction.
Yes.
When Althea made the introduction, I thought, okay, somebody probably wants to come on, pitch their wares, pitch their goods, but it didn't matter to me because I was very excited to talk to somebody who was willing to come on and on the show and who had a love and a passion for and has the gifts of what you do. So thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you, Ted, for having me. Very much appreciate it.
We had a great reading, which I'm going to... He actually had me record it, which was really smart because I want to go back and listen. And then my wife will love to go back and listen because you said a lot of wonderful things about her. And so it's not always about me. That hurt to say, but it's true. That's just kidding, just joking, people. But you have a gift, but you are only recently using it in the past 6 or 7 years.
That's
so
right.
Tell them a little bit about your history, where you're from, and then we'll talk about the transition a few years ago, really, to doing what you're doing full-time now.
Okay, sure. Well, originally, Ted, I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, and moved here to Orlando, 30 years this past January. So
he was 5.
Yeah, so yeah, these are highlights.
Those are totally highlights.
Yeah, these are highlights, not my real hair color. And, you know, I've got beautiful wife, Mary, 3 wonderful children, Katie, Patrick, and Andrew. Great son-in-law, Ryan. Soon to be a daughter-in-law, Ashley. Love her.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. We got 2 beautiful grandchildren, Kellen and Quinn. Quinn's 4, Kellen's 2. I retired at the end of July from a career in consumer packaged goods. I was in sales and management and actually training for about 10 or 12 years. And I was sitting in a meeting about a year ago, August, and went, I don't know if I have the energy to keep doing this.
Right.
And so at the age of 62, much to the chagrin of my wife, God bless her, I decided to retire and then pursue kind of the path that I'm on now.
Because you recognized your gifts before that, but
Correct.
You still kept your traditional job, lifestyle, up to a year ago.
Correct.
And what we were talking about earlier was how do you, because for a lot of people, they know they've had a gift, whatever that is, for a very long time.
Right.
So you were a traditionalist, a man of faith, which you still are, which we'll talk about.
Correct.
And so you, for whatever reason, that didn't really come into fruition of you utilizing those gifts. And why is, we talked a little bit about why, but why? You're in the traditional world. You're a practicing Catholic.
Correct.
So, but you, all of a sudden it starts to really creep in that you are, thanks Dee, she loves the jacket and the shirt, appreciate it.
Thank you. He's talking about yours.
She could be talking about mine, okay. I guess you can see it. But you all of a sudden go, okay, this is my gift, I'm going to have to figure out a way to make those mesh, to make them make sense together.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, it really all started, as we say, by chance, but or as people would say, by chance. But we know there are no coincidences when it comes to matters of spirituality. And it was about 6 or 7 years ago, and a woman's cleaning our house named Annette, and she mentioned she's a medium. And I knew what a medium was. I never met a medium.
Or I'm a large, thanks Annette. Right? So you didn't know, right?
Rim shot. And so she says, would you like a reading? And I went, sure. And she sits down after she finishes cleaning the house and proceeds to describe my mother's father in painstakingly detail, even though there's no pictures of, as we used to call him, Papa, anywhere in the house. And I thought, wow, that's something unique. That's something interesting. And little by little, I started to explore the metaphysical side of my spiritual gifts. And pretty soon, she invited us to like a mediumship meditation circle. So I sat in a circle for months and didn't really think I belonged. People were seeing all sorts of wonderful things.
Were you questioning at that point because you hadn't? So we talked about this. You're, like most people, you're a basic skeptic.
Absolutely.
And so you're sitting in that. I would imagine the first time you're sitting in the circle, you're like, "Wow, I do not belong here. I have no earthly idea why I'm here."
Absolutely.
But the universe, everything was kind of pushing you in that direction, going, "You do have the gifts, Jerry.
Yeah.
Open your eyes."
That's right. I mean, everybody. We were sitting around, close our eyes, and everybody would say, "Hey, what did you see? What did you experience?" And they would come to me, and I'd go, "I saw black, and then I saw gray, and then maybe a lighter shade of gray." And then one day, they wanted me to give a message to a lady sitting across from me, and the only thing I could come up with was, "I see a heart in the shape of a dog tag." And I thought, well, that's just silly. And then she reveals that just days before, her dog had been diagnosed with a heart condition.
Wow, okay.
And so I said, okay, maybe there's something to it, because as you said, my brain is very analytical. My brain is very structured. Even though I'm a convert, I'm a traditional Catholic. And so and that part of the brain, or parts of the brain, I pushed back on this until the universe, and I always look at God, the universe, and spirit. As I told you, I say Gus.
He says Gus, which
Gus,
I love.
God, universe, spirit. It's one and the same. I call it like the metaphysical triangle or trinity, not to be sacrilegious. And it opened doors not to just see things, but to see, hear, and experience things, and then take those gifts and help people on their path. And that's, if I could tell a very quick story.
Please do.
Don't mind. This past Saturday, I set up a booth at this thing called Audubon Park Garden District Zombie-Toberfest. It was absolutely wild. Because I'm a big fan of zombies. I don't know why.
Walking Dead's one of my favorite shows.
Oh my God, I love Walking Dead. And so I set up my booth, and it was just for a donation. You could come in and pay, and come in and not pay. And it was slow going, but soon a line started to form. And I thought, well, this is cool. And I noticed in the line, this elderly woman, had to be in her mid-late 70s, waited like 30 minutes to come in and talk to me. So when she comes in and talks to me, I always say my prayer, as I did with you.
You did.
Opening and a closing prayer. And I see this little boy as I'm closing my eyes or looking away from her, and this boy's about 6 or 7. And she said, "That's my brother. He was 5. And I said, okay, when he died. And I'm getting, he died like that, died tragically, died suddenly. And then the little boy is saying, he's asking about his sister's guilt. Why does she feel guilty? Why is she holding on to guilt? And I asked her, I said, and I can't remember her name, but I just said, your brother's asking about the guilt. Is asking about, why are you feeling guilty? Well, she was 7 when her brother was 5, and he died very tragically. and her family members accused her of causing his death.
Wow.
Now, at 7 years old, what a burden for someone to live with.
And she's been hanging on to it.
She's been living with this for over 60 years.
That's crazy.
And she just broke down crying. Her brother said, I was 5 years old. I knew right from wrong on basic stuff. I knew not to go run out in the street, but I still did it. And when I hugged her, you could feel the weight of the world lift off her shoulders. And so that's really what I use my gifts for, to help people on their path as well as to help me on my path, and to get people to move beyond shame, beyond guilt, and realize their potential as a human being and their potential as a spirit and as a light is enormous, and they have a life to live. So
did anyone in your family have, say, I got him to drink wine, Althea, by the way.
Yeah, red wine.
Red wine. He's got a nice cab in front of him.
Yeah.
Did anyone in your family have the gift? Because that's what happens a lot. Or did they just not talk about it? Maybe they did. Or like, how do you go, okay, I'm fascinated by this. People can be, even the people online are saying, they're fascinated by the topic. You can be fascinated by what we're talking about, but can you really manifest a gift if you don't have it?
Well, first, everybody has metaphysical gifts, and they use them in different ways, whether it's psychic of nature, mediumship, or clairvoyance, or what have you. And I think, as we talked about earlier, and I don't consider myself a psychic, there's some psychic components, I think, as you saw in the reading.
Right.
But what I caution everybody about psychic is God gives us unconditional love, and with that, there's unconditional free will. So I tell people, Spirit is only going to show you mainly what you're meant to see, hear, feel, and experience on the path you're on. But your path could very well change, and a lot of times does. Because if I tell someone on January 10th, something wonderful is going to happen to you, which I'd never do,
right,
then all they're thinking about is January 10th and not all the wondrous and beautiful things that happen that live.
What could they miss? They would miss something.
Up to January 10th. So, in answer to your question, they've asked a lot of my relatives, most of my relatives have passed in their 60s and 70s. My aunts, uncles, my folks, they all pass in their 60s and early 70s. And the answer I get is no. Or if they did, we don't know who had these gifts. I've not seen anybody come forward, even in during meditation, that said, yeah, I had these gifts, but I couldn't tell anybody. Now, how we manifest these gifts, it took me a while. It took me a long time. It took me several years. Number one, get past the analytical brain. Number two, get past the Catholicism and what traditional religion may say about these gifts. And number three, to quiet myself so I could listen to God. So I always say this, that prayer is not talking with God, or not having a conversation with God. Prayer is talking with God. Meditation is listening to God. And so a lot of times we pray, but we don't stop and listen to what God says. And so, yeah, I think you can, if I can do it at the age of 55, 56, and we talked about some of the ways that Spirit's made my mind aware, how I've changed my opinion on a lot of things, then anybody can manifest these beautiful gifts, because we have the knowledge and the wisdom of the universe within us. Our soul, as I've told you, I truly believe is oxygen for the universe.
I love that analogy.
Yeah, the universe is living and breathing. It's not planets and stars and 90-something% dark matter. It's living from a spiritual side. Scientifically, it is. Like people like Deepak Chopra, who's written 85 books.
Right.
That's all, I don't know, 84 more than I've written. But I mean, the universe is within us. The knowledge of the universe is within us. God's within us. Spirit is within us. And we can manifest these gifts to help people, not for our own use, but to help people on their path.
So talk a little bit, you mentioned it, but I think it's really important, because when I posted on Sunday, my guest for the week, again, I've not had a clairvoyant on before, and I had a few people say they were kind of they believe, but they had trouble making a marriage or melding together their faith and anything to do with the clairvoyant world. So you dealt with that. You've had to figure out a way to do that. So give them a little bit of insight on maybe some things that they can do or what your journey was so that people can figure it out.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. That was, and I told you before we began, that was one of my biggest struggles is, because I'm a convert. My brother's a Methodist minister, beautiful. My brother Stan's a Methodist minister, beautiful Methodist minister. My oldest sister-in-law's a nun, all right?
Wow.
So, and so I struggled with what the Bible says. I struggled with what Catholicism says, or Christianity and the teachings of the church. And so I had this, and so I went to a Franciscan priest because we're real close to the Franciscans. And I struggled with this, and I said, am I doing the work of evil, of the dark side?
That's sort of what's taught in our overall Christian faith, no matter what denomination you are. But there's so many people that believe that there's something out there that you can't deny.
Right. And he said, Jerry, have you passed God's litmus test? And I went, or does it pass? Do your gifts pass the litmus test? And I went, I have no idea. What litmus test are you talking about? He goes, faith, hope, and charity. Does your gift strengthen your faith and help other people with their faith? Are you charitable with your gifts? In a way that you're just not holding it in, but you're helping people. Does your gifts give you hope and give other people hope? And I went, yes, to all three, it does. And he said, then you've answered your question. And I said, but the Bible, and he said, Jerry, the Bible, you may lose a few evangelicals on this. So
it's all about challenging what we're thinking.
That's right. And he said the Bible is a document of faith with historical references. And he said, on one hand, the Bible could say that gift is not of this world, but then you read another passage where it says, Paul talks about the mystery gifts. Corinthians talks about there are many gifts,
absolutely,
but they come from one Spirit.
Correct.
And so that's how I kind of, let's say, came to a solution or came to a conclusion or came to an awareness that what I was doing was good, because someone once told me, God doesn't care what you do, as long as that which you do draws you closer to Him, draws you closer to her, not to offend anybody, draws you closer to it, to the universe, to the light, to the energy, to the vibrations. As long as you're closer to God based on what you do, then you're doing the right thing. You're on the right path. And I am. I have never prayed more or meditated more in my life than I do now. Never. I've never felt closer to God than I do in my life. And I've never felt closer to serving the many people who I'm helping on their path than I do right now in my life.
That's awesome, because I think that's what we all kind of strive for, right?
Yeah,
we're trying to figure out a way to get closer to whatever our version of God, the universe, is. And all we want to do is try to figure out how to have a better, more secure, closer walk with whatever that is.
Absolutely.
And I think people really, really do struggle with that on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you can do that. Now, how did your wife and your kids, because remember, this is only 5-6 years ago. We talked a little bit about this.
Yeah.
And you've got 3 great children. Your daughter's a UCF grad. Go Knights.
Patrick's a
UCF grad. But talk about that, because that's got to be something where, oh, Dad, really? What is this? What's going on? It's not like they grew up with it. This is something new for them.
I know, because I did turn them on to Monty Python and great things like that, and Animal House and classics like that. So, I gave messages for about 2 years to people before I ever started giving readings. And I started writing a blog about 2 years ago, which led into the book. And they were skeptical at first, which I get. This isn't the person they've known all their life.
They're like, Dad, where did this come from?
Yeah.
I mean, they must have thought that.
Yeah, of course they
did. And Mary must have thought the same thing.
Well, she thinks that every day. I mean,
Stacy does too. I get it.
Yeah, I tell her about the woman that waited 30 minutes in line to talk to me, and she said, that's about 29 more minutes than I would wait in line to talk to you.
I have a feeling I'm going to love Mary.
yeah, most people do. Everybody does. She's funnier than I am.
I am bad, Althea. You're right. Sorry.
Yeah. But, I mean, yeah, there was some pushback, and because, let's face it, when you do what you firmly believe is God's word, you take risk.
Absolutely.
You take risk doing this show.
Every day.
There are people love you, and there's other people go, no, not so much.
Not so much.
And there's been people within my own church, and even people in a ministry that I was involved in for 30 years that kind of said, no thanks. But what we don't understand, we fear.
Yes.
And what we fear, we separate ourselves from. And we don't bother to learn about this stuff. Now, we still may say, hey, I've read up on it, or I've watched this, or I experienced this, and I still don't agree with it. But it comes to a better understanding. The problem is we never sit down to talk to people and figure out what is it about these gifts that I'm fearful of or that I don't understand. And so I've been told by Spirit, part of my job, part of my mission or purpose is to help people in the Catholic faith, because I've done a ton of readings for people who are Catholics. And they may not admit it, and that's fine. It doesn't matter to me if they admit it or don't admit it.
Right.
But the fact that they have reached, they can move on with their life, or they can get on another path, or they've wondered about maybe words that were said between loved ones and the loved one is now passed, and they feel guilty about. And it's time for people to embrace whatever gifts they have and move on with life and help people on their path.
Well, and I think that a lot of people, we live in a crazy world. I talk about that almost every day on the show. So I think a lot of people are looking for some sort of hope and or comfort, whether it's past, present, or future.
Oh, absolutely.
And so if you're able to give them that on whatever level that means and whatever they're supposed to accept it as, I think that's so important, because people really are suffering. So many people are carrying around, like the woman who's been carrying around that since she was 7. Yeah. People carry around this stuff, and they don't realize how much it impacts everything they've done in their life, and continues to be a burden on them, or a question in their life, or a door that they can't open.
Absolutely.
And so giving them that, I think, is one of the amazing gifts that you're able to do for them.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so many of the readings that I give, and again, most of mine are by phone because they're from across the country. Most of the readings I give are for people who've never had a reading. And I tell them, here's just like you.
I'd never had a reading till this morning.
Yeah, here's how I work. Here's what I'm going to get. Keep in mind, God gives you free will. Gives everybody on your path free will.
Right.
I can't definitely predict the future. I can tell you, here's some opportunities, here's some watch outs. Or from a medical intuitive standpoint, I can say, hey, just like I asked you about, your back and so forth, because that's information that's coming from God, coming from the universe, coming from Spirit. Catholics would probably call it Holy Spirit. Spirit's that mystical force that moves through everything, that helps us to become what we're destined to become.
That's right. The Bible is very specific that Spirit's the helper.
Absolutely.
So I definitely believe that.
Now the Catholic Church pushes back, and I get that, even though we have saints that have the gifts of clairvoyance.
Right.
We have books written about saints.
Correct.
Or as Teresa Caputo, the Long Island medium, I love her, puts it.
I love to watch her. Yeah. I don't know why. Maybe because I was born in Jersey all those years ago.
Could have been.
Anybody from Long Island is a friend of mine.
Yeah, and I've seen her twice here at UCF, and she says the Catholic Church doesn't quite believe in what I do, but they've yet to return the big check that I write them every year. Difference between Teresa and I don't write a big check. I write a check, but we write a check, but it's not big. But I gave a copy of this book to my pastor, and hopefully in a week or two we'll sit down and have a conversation.
But you and Teresa are both people of faith.
Absolutely.
You maintain your faith.
Absolutely.
But still embrace your gifts.
Absolutely.
Which is what I think a lot of people struggle with when they want to go to a medium, or maybe they experience something. My kids will know. I mean, I've had gifts I haven't done anything with them, but children come to me.
Yes.
So my kids have known this since they were little, and my wife can now hear them occasionally. So it's a fascinating thing to have.
It is.
But all of my children are blessed with it. That's why I asked you about where it came from. I don't know where mine came from, but I've known about it since I was very, very young.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what that does for the world, except I believe that there's some reason that they're attracted to this light, whatever my light is, and that they come and there's a safety there. That's my sense. That's the biggest part of my gift and intuition that I know. I don't know why, but my kids have experienced them in the physical.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
is, it's amazing stuff. And I think if you close your mind off to things that you don't understand, you limit yourself to experiences that you could have and opportunities that you could have.
Yeah. It's just like I won't mention the name of the person. There was a person in this restaurant that I talked to while you went to the restroom, and I said, your grandmother's here, and normally I don't approach people, and Spirit says, here's an opportunity, would like to reach out, somebody would like to talk to them. It doesn't happen every day, it happens every week, and I'm cautious, about who I approach.
Sure.
And say hi, grandma says hi, and then,
right, they're like, what?
Buy my Skittles and Diet Coke and walk out the door. But this woman had 2 children, and she lost one, and this little child manifests itself in a soul, and it's here to say, I'm fine, I'm okay, everything's great, you're still my mom. And people come to me, and it is amazing how much guilt we have about stuff. And not that this
we do.
We have guilt.
We do.
We have things that are said to us. We have and 99% of the readings I do are women. And I've been enlightened by the difficult path that women have had to travel.
Agreed.
And it is absolutely unbelievable how many women have been abused, or how addiction has affected them, or things and ugly things that were said to them that has just stuck with them. And if it's part of my mission or purpose just to help them somehow, that's reason enough for me.
So talk about your book, because believe it or not, we're at 28 minutes.
Oh, 28
It goes
minutes.
by so fast. But talk about your book, and we can't really probably see it. See, they can't see it. You'll have to do that. But we'll do the URL and everything.
Okay. The great thing about this book is I really didn't write it. I mean, I sat down through inspirational reading or inspirational writings, and I came up with the channeling the mothership. The mothership to me is the universe. Universe to me has a feminine quality, a nurturing, caring quality, so that's why I call it the mothership. The amazing thing about the book is, up until 6 or 7 years ago, I didn't read books. I'm the most unlikely person to even write a book.
Love it.
And so Spirit just helped me over 2 years put this book together. The chapters and the titles of the chapters. And the amazing thing about this, I was told to stop at 49 chapters, mini chapters. I went, well, why 49? If I do 52, it's 52 weeks of wear, and Spirit said stop at 49. And I said, okay. So I investigated the number 49, and it's one of the most spiritual numbers in Judaism, Christianity, Catholicism, Buddhism, Hinduism. It's a real spiritual number.
It's a multiple of 7.
Yeah, it is,
Yeah.
which is a great number, and that's why I have 7 chapters. But I felt there was maybe another reason I didn't know what it was. And so I'm driving my daughter downtown Orlando earlier this year, and she said, "Hey, have you been by Pulse, the nightclub?" And I said, "I probably drove by a million times, never noticed it." So we're driving by, and then it hits me that part of the dedication of this book is to the 49 people. that lost their lives in the Pulse nightclub massacre, that their souls and their spirit live on. That's how you know it's inspired from the highest of the high.
Love that.
Yeah.
You have been a joy. Oh, I love it. See, I got
She
Vanna
just got-
White. I love it.
Vanna White, that's
and
right.
Virginia's going to die because she's been like on camera the entire time, so that should be interesting.
Yeah.
You've been a joy, an amazing joy. Thank you
very
so much.
Thank you.
We love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll give Jerry's URL and how to reach him and the book information when we hashtag everything this afternoon. Thank you so much. Happy
God bless.
Thursday. We love you. God bless. Have a good one.
All right.
Down in the bottom. Girls with names.